I am here today to talk about tools and tactics for cheap, scalable content marketing. If I start speaking quickly, because I do that, raise your hands and I will slow down, I promise. So, I will start by telling you a little bit about me and give you some context. So, I have been working in SEO for 10 years. When I first started working in SEO, getting links was very easy. You would basically spam some stuff. Everybody ranked. It was a glorious world. Then it all changed. And over the years, I've slowly become more of a PR than an SEO. That's where I started. For the past 2 years, I've been running an agency called Many Minds. We're a digital marketing agency, and I only work with freelancers, and we all work remotely from our pajamas in our bedrooms, and it's lovely. So, what I'll talk about today. So, first, I'll go through a bit about what I mean when I say content marketing. Have a definition. It's a bit of a buzzword. People mean different things when they say it. And then I'll talk about a formula to get links, something that I've observed over the past few years. Then I'll talk about how to do this cheaply. I think generally we assume that getting links has to be difficult and expensive, and it doesn't. I'll talk about how we can do this with some free or cheap PR tactics, and then how we can create interactive, excellent, whizzy, exciting content for free or very cheap. So, a content marketing definition. So I think because content marketing has so many various different applications and meanings, it's probably worthwhile to talk about what we're trying to achieve. So I guess most people in this room are SEOs. Can you, if you're an SEO? Great, I am with my people. Anyone here from PR or social teams, content teams, content, any business founders? Cool, okay, lovely. So for most people in this room, when we talk about content marketing, our goal is mainly to get links that people will click on. I think we have evolved away from just wanting to get links. Now we want to get relevant links that might even drive some referral traffic. Also, we want to be creating content that people will share on social, because that's good too. We want to drive referral traffic. We want to be driving relevant, targeted people to our site from the links that we're getting. And ultimately, we want to be like, did you have this in France? Scrooge McDuck. Amazing. We want to be like him when he jumps in all the money. So basically, I'm going to be talking about how we can make funny or useful things on the internet that essentially does that stuff. So getting links is simple. You just need a really good idea. That's it. That's all you need to know. Done. So I think over the past few years, I have developed a bit of a formula, having seen lots of content that's worked and seen lots of content that doesn't work. So first, we need an idea. So we need a good concept, something that works, that's interesting, that's cool. And then we need data. So we need some information behind it, some stats, just something thorough that makes the idea kind of weighty and interesting. And then we need an asset. This part's getting more important. We need the thing that people will link to. What I'm increasingly finding is it's easy to get people to share content. It's getting harder to get them to link to it. So the way that we do that is by having the thing, the asset that people are linking to. Cool. So I'll give you an example. This is by Distilled, the agency, and they had a client who were photo printers. So their client would print photos for people online. And they made this really cool piece of content where basically what they did is they took all of the photos that were uploaded to Instagram in a year and did an interactive website of how far they would go. I think they reached up to the moon or something. But this is an incredible piece of content. It has a really nice idea and a fun concept behind it. It's very well researched. It has lots of good data in it. And also the asset, the thing itself, is beautiful and people want to link to it. That's why it's got over 500 links from 132 referring domains, and it's got shares in the thousands. Another nice example is a car company in the UK. What they did is they created a guide to all cars used in James Bond films. And it's a really, really beautiful piece of content. It looks very nice. The cars drive about the screen. The information is very good. It's not just pretty. It's not just a good idea. It has good information in it as well. And again, this got backlinks in the hundreds and thousands of shares. So what I'm trying to talk about today is how we can create these kinds of content or get these kinds of results, but without having to invest tons of time and tons of effort and tons of money. So, first, ideas. A good idea is hard to get, but it's essentially free. A good idea doesn't cost anything beyond your own time. I'm not going to talk about getting a good idea today because Laura will be talking about that later. So, data. Getting data and getting information is incredibly easy and often can be free or incredibly cheap. Assets, the thing. This is where it can get very expensive and very hard. So we can ask ourselves, can we get links without creating a big thing? And the answer is yes. This is a nice example. This is a list of musicians and how much it costs to hire someone. And I think it's awful that Bob Dylan is so much cheaper than Justin Bieber. Like, that's not a world I want to live in. Is there anybody here who works in travel or music or events? Remake this, because it's just a Word doc, and it's ugly and it's not interesting, but it's got 150,000 shares. Because it's cool. It's an interesting piece. Just have it. Okay. Yeah. So we'll just, it's a really nice piece of content, but it doesn't look very good. This is a company called Gallup, and they basically are a data company. They create white papers, they do surveys, and every piece of content that they share gets thousands, 15,000 backlinks for essentially just an article. And the reason this is getting shared is because it has research behind it, genuine, legitimate research, and that's it. So these are the kind of things that we want to be replicating in our campaigns when we're trying to get links. So here are some quick, free, or cheap PR tactics that you can go away and you can do tomorrow. So, find key media's publication schedules. Any big publication, newspaper, most bloggers have them now, will publish what they will be writing about over the next year. That makes it incredibly easy for you to pitch content or pitch ideas to these people. I would start by having a list of those places that you would like to get links from and find out what they're talking about and use that as a start point. Really easy. Once you know what they're talking about, find their journalists on LinkedIn. I'll talk about this a bit more, but most journalists are now freelance. And because they're freelance, that means they will often take payment for their time. So you can find who's working at a particular place and just pay them to review your content. That's a really nice way. I'll talk more about that. So who here works with a business? I mean, everyone, I guess. A business. So the good news is, if you work with a business, you win free links. Every single business has easy ways to get links. So, if your business has a CEO, or if your business has a founder, then what you can do is you can submit business, founder, CEO interviews. It's something I do a lot for my business to get links for me. And I have a press person, and she will send emails like this. It's basically just an email approach that says, can we place some content on your site? Because being a founder or running a business, or if there is somebody in HR, those people have interesting things to say that business publications and media will want to talk about. So that's a free, easy way to get links tomorrow. You can also do this if you have any new product launches. If you're an e-commerce site and you've got new products launching, if you have investment, if you're a startup and you have investors or a board, you can do this when you hire somebody new. You can do this when somebody quits. You can do this if you get new clients, or if you're a regionally based business. If you're a business outside of major cities, then you can go to all of the local press. So there's lots of really easy and free ways to go out and get links just on the fact that you are a business. And that's applicable to everybody, whether you're a startup or a huge corporation. Everyone has a founder or a CEO or people within the business that have interesting things to say. So just go and pitch that out to business media. No news, no problem. This is where we make news, we invent news. And one of the ways we do that, as we know, is by getting data and information. So, data. I had such a crush on this guy growing up that it makes me feel awkward whenever I see a picture. So, here's an example of something that we did for our client. Is there anybody here who has an e-commerce site? Who runs e-commerce sites? Okay, so e-commerce sites are fascinating, or any kind of site where you book something, because you have incredibly fascinating internal data. The data you have internally can be used to get links. So here's an example we did for one of our clients. They are a loans company. Loans company are notoriously hard to get links for because it's loans and it's commercial and people don't want to link to those sites. But if you're using internal data, then it becomes a lot easier because you're really earning that link because it's your information, you own it. People have to link back to that because it's your data. This is something we did for a loans company where we went through all of their sales data and identified a lot of the people getting loans were graduates. So we took this data and we created a whole opinion piece on whether degrees are really yielding the results that people want and people are getting the wages and the salary they want because they're getting loans. It got tons of pickup in lots of local press. I think in total it got about 70 links. And again, all we did was take their data and write it into a press release. We didn't make anything, we're not spending any time, and we were really earning the links because it was that company's data. Okay, often you might struggle to get sign-off to use internal data. Often people don't want to share their internal sales data or the revenue data, and that's fine. There's also lots of publicly available data that we can use. I got very excited when I found this. This is called data search. And what this is, it's a research data search engine. So if you are an academic and you have published a piece of research, what you do is you submit your research to one of these academic search engines. So what this means is what we have here is lots of heavy-duty academic, so authoritative data. The example I put in here, we were working with a mattress company, one of those like hipster mattress startups. So we were creating lots of content about sleep. So I just looked at accidents and sleep. I was having a bad day, clearly. And there is loads of tabular data. There's loads of tabular data all on sleep. Now, what this means is we can take this content that nobody's reading and turn it into something interesting. So you can find some data. Whatever market you're working in, you will find something applicable in here. Find the academic who has done the research, email them, ask if you can use their data. They will say yes. If they don't say yes, pay them, because academics are tragically underpaid. In fact, we should pay them anyway. Academics are tragically underpaid. And you can take that information and you can create news on it. And when we have news, we have links. So that's a really good resource. Another one is this, the data search engine. It's not quite as good. You will have to sit for about an hour and go through, but you will find some gold mines that you can then use to market your businesses. Okay, If that doesn't work, then we can generate survey data. I've put this last because it's the most obvious, and also this is where we have to pay. This isn't totally free, but it can be cheap. Is there anybody here that's already running surveys for content campaigns? Couple of people. Okay, cool. So there is a company called Polfish. I've been using Polfish for a long time because the great thing about Polfish is you get your respondents pretty much instantly, quickly, and cheaply. It's a cent, 1 cent for a response. You can target by country, so you can survey people just in Paris if you wanted to. You could survey just, 15-year-olds in Paris. You can go very, very specific. And what we can do is, once we have this data, we can start creating stories on this data. So I would first start by seeing if there's any company data or sales data you can use. If not, look at academic data. If that doesn't work, then just create your own. Create your own stories, create your own data. So once we have data and information, we need to start creating an asset. So we increasingly need a thing to encourage people to link to, otherwise it doesn't work so well. So you do not need to spend a lot to create engaging content. I think this is a big myth in the industry. I think typically people charge thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds to create good content. And you don't need to. You can. Sometimes it works. It's cool. It looks good. But it's unnecessary. I'll give you some examples. Here is one of our clients. They are a big, boring data company. They provide IT solutions. They're one of the biggest in the UK, and nobody cares, because who cares about data centers and clouds? So it's quite boring. It's quite dry. So we started getting lots of links from them just by doing interviews of the founder. That worked very, very well. It had a certain timeline. So then what we did is created this image gallery of extreme data centers. There are more extreme data centers than you would think. There are data centers in the Arctic. There is a data center in the crypt of a church in Barcelona. It's kind of cool. So we created this, and it's it's just a visual, beautiful, interactive piece of content about extreme data centers. And it did incredibly well. It got on Computer Weekly, we got it on Mashable, Tech Radar, BT, a competitor of theirs, also wrote about it. It worked very, very well. It got tons of good links, very high authority links. It got 1,000 shares, which for a business like that is huge. It got a 20% increase in traffic, and it directly gave them 12 leads because it was targeted press. It was tech press. 12 leads. A lead value for them is worth about £12,000. So that's a lot of money from some link building. What it cost them, or us, was $249. And just 1 day of our time to distribute it. The way we did this is through this. This is something called Slides. Slides is by a company called Design Modo, and I would absolutely recommend you do it. What it does is it allows you to create interactive content if you have no technical expertise like me. You may need to know some rudimentary, basic HTML, but that's it. This is like a CMS for interactive content. You pay $249 for the license once, and then you can use it over and over and over again. So I would certainly recommend doing this. It allows you to create those beautiful pieces of interactive content that we see all over the internet, but for very, very cheap. Quizzes. Interactive quizzes. Quizzes work well for conversion as well as for generating links. They're a nice thing to do, particularly in any kind of budgeting space or like an informational driven query. They work very well. Here is one, again, we did for a client, and it was around Christmas time. And at Christmas, we basically just created a quiz that told people how much they could save in December. We paired this with some data we generated that people feel sad at Christmas because it's a lot of pressure and it's very expensive. And this to use, it costs $25 a month. And this is really good. So it allows you to create very visual, interactive quizzes. Like, I don't know, which Friends character are you? You can create things like that. And again, I've always thought I would need a developer, I would need a designer, I would need hosting, I would need all of these things, but you don't. This is just $25 a month license. You can use it again and again and again. Yeah, I like this example because this is free. A different client, what we did is, I mean, this is like the most awful clickbait I've ever been part of. I'm ashamed. What we did is we took classic films and reinvented them with text messages. So we had, you can paint me like one of your French girls from the Titanic on Instagram, that kind of thing. It worked really well. It got picked up in lots of like movie blogs and things, again for free. And we created this completely for free because of these things. There's tons of services where you can make fake Instagram posts and fake text messages and the videos. You know, when you see a video of people typing, there's apps where you can do that for free. So this worked really well, and I did this campaign myself one Thursday afternoon just because I wanted to test it, just to see if this would work. I have absolutely no design capabilities at all, but I managed to get a campaign that got picked up, not loads. I think we got about 20 links from it in film sites, which for this kind of brand is quite good. And it was just me on a Thursday afternoon playing with this. And you can make it look really cool. So you can think of interesting, funny things you can do with like fake social media and text messages. And that's like a nice way to make a funny, cute little campaign. Okay, so another little hack is to get other companies to create your content for you. Why create your own content when somebody else can do it? This is another example. One of our clients is a large furniture brand, and we were thinking about the kinds of things that we could do. So what we did was we got some architects to draw up some designs for a structurally sound, historically accurate pillow fort, like the things you make when you're a kid. They wanted to promote bedding and beds, so I was trying to think of some silly things on the internet that we could do. So I emailed tens of architects asking how you would make a pillow fort if you wanted it to actually stand. 99% of them just thought I was batshit crazy, but one did come back. Ta-da! That's what it looks like. And it has like the bed posts, and then you would have to layer the pillows in certain ways so it would be solid. Ridiculous. We built this, my team and I built this about a year ago now, and we had the best day. We had so much fun. And the good thing about this campaign is, again, it worked well. It got picked up in some big publications. And the good thing about this is we didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to create anything. The architects did. They drew the blueprints. They kind of put together our asset, our thing that was getting shared. It was getting downloaded a lot from the site as well, which was nice. And the reason that they did it is because that's our client, that we got the link. This is on Ideal Home, I think. And then that's the architects that helped us. So we just partnered on that. So they got something out of it too. A nice way to do this is to speak to other SEOs. Speak to other SEOs and try and come up with ideas together about clients. They can't be related because it becomes competitive. But if you have things that are removed and you can sit in the pub and have a glass of wine and just come up with some ideas of things where you could take both of your skill sets and do things together. And then it becomes a lot quicker, cheaper, and easier if you're teaming up with people. Another nice thing to do is to partner with experts. I'll give you an example of what I mean. A long time ago now, probably about 2 years ago, I got asked by an insurance company to help them get links to their policy pages. So getting links to their very dry, just terms and conditions pages. I thought it would be impossible, but I tried anyway, and it was for pet insurance. So I read through all of the terms and conditions of your average, like, pet insurance policy. And what I learned was that most insurance covers, like, homeopathic, natural pet care. So what that means is puppy massage. Little puppies getting massages. I thought the links were going to build themselves, but they didn't. So what I did is I created a campaign around puppies getting massages. And I was like, this is going to be great. This is going to be amazing. We had a video of a little dog with poorly bad legs getting a massage. And I was like, great. I mean, I have won the internet. But nobody, this is the amount of responses we got at that point. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about the little dog getting a massage for its bad legs because they have cold hearts. It's actually because I was emailing them as an insurance company. Insurance companies are commercial, big things that people don't want to link to, and especially don't want to. It was obvious that we were marketing. It was obviously a marketing campaign. So what we did is I panicked and I spoke to the person who ran the, like, formal body for this kind of pet care. Got her to give us a quote, got her to partner with us, and suddenly people were interested because it wasn't an insurance company talking about puppy massages. It was an insurance company with someone professional and an expert with authority talking about it. And that's crucial when you're trying to get links, especially if you're working in a very commercial space. People are increasingly aware of what we're up to. People are increasingly mistrusting. People want payment. So if we're avoiding that, we have to have an expert as well. A nice way to get this is Amazon New Releases. So Amazon New Releases is a gold mine to find an expert. What you do is, so Amazon have a whole section of books that are about to be published. So books that haven't been published yet. What this means is you have authors, so experts, people with authority in their field, that also themselves have something to promote. As an example, I picked something boring, so that's some wood. Yes, and it exists. So whatever market you're in, you will be able to find tons of authors on Amazon that are about to publish a book. If you're about to publish something, they'll be willing to partner with you because they get something out of it too. Pay journalists, but not for links, for content feedback, content feedback, strategy advice, and press release amends. This is one of the most powerful things that I ever did within my business. Is I went on LinkedIn one day and I found freelance journalists in various different areas, and I pay them on a monthly retainer. So now I think we have about 30 journalists that I pay a small fee just to sit on our Slack. Do you use Slack? Okay, so we have a Slack channel for our journalists. All of our journalists sit on our Slack channel. They get paid to be there. So when we are trying to find some target media or when we are writing some content, we can go in there and just ask them for their advice. What this means, it's a very good starting point to get them to cover your content. We're not paying them to cover the content. We're just paying them for their advice, for their help. They're consultants for us. And it's really good for them because they're on a Slack group with other journalists. So they go away and they use it themselves. I would definitely do that. Find the journalists in your area, just one. You just need one in your space. Find them on LinkedIn and pay them every month to help you out. It's really good. And you don't have to pay them much. I think it varies, but I think it's about $100 I pay them. So really not much money and absolutely worth it. So I also thought I would talk very quickly on how we can use content marketing and PR to drive acquisition. I think what we need to start doing is stop thinking about links and start thinking about the other areas that we can influence with this activity as well to make sure we're all safe in the future. So make sure we're linking to targeted content. It is easy to get links to home pages. It is harder to get links to commercial or landing pages. So we can think about ways of doing that. One way is to have downloadable PDFs that allow you to link to those specific pages. And it can also capture emails. So it can also be a targeted nurture program. And we want to make sure that we're placing content on targeted sites and blogs. I often have a habit, and I have for a while, just getting content in mainstream newspapers, but that doesn't really drive anything directly, but very targeted, say business sites or tech sites, whatever it is, that actually drives traffic and often leads an acquisition. And then what you need to do is make sure that we're building relationships, and we can leverage those ongoing for any kind of changes in the business. Building relationships is harder and harder, so often it requires payment, like I said. So here's some things that you can go away and we can do tomorrow. So I would start by finding your key influencers within your industry and understanding what it is that they want to write about. Find all those media calendars and understand the topics that they're talking about next month in the summer, and then you can speak to them and have a much more frank conversation. Submit startup interviews or founder interviews or CEO interviews, a very quick, free and easy way to get links for your business. Use data to start creating a story. Use internal data, it's free, and then you really earn that link. Build some interactive content and don't spend loads of money, and then drink wine. And that's me. Thank you so much. Oh, the mug thing. So we have the mug.
Super. First of all, thank you very much.
No
I
worries.
found that incredibly interesting.
Good.
First thing to do before we have any questions, so stay around for the questions, is who wants to win the mug? There is a question.
I've just completely made this up. Question is, see how much does it cost to hire Bob Dylan at your event? Who was looking? Who was looking?
No.
He's close.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that number at all. Sorry.
Any more? Anyone get any closer? No. It's $25,000. Yeah, so you win the mug. You were watching.
Well done.
Good. Let's get a tin and get Bob Dylan here. You just put €5 in, get him over later. Oh,
yeah, he's got a Nobel Prize as well, so.
Has he?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
For poetry.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, he loves SEO.
So, has anyone got any questions? Well, I've got a statement which is kind of half a question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the things that struck me in what you said was, especially in the story about, I can't remember what the story was like, you were basically, it was perseverance and enthusiasm and keeping going when it wasn't working. It was the puppy massage.
Yes.
And there's a word in French for that. If you're all French, it's lagnac. And there is no word in English that corresponds to that.
What does it?
It means enthusiam and perseverance.
That's because we're not enthusiastic.
And in English there is no word. But sorry, the question then I suppose is that the real foundation of your business, or are there times when you should know when just to drop it? It's not going to work.
You absolutely need to know when to drop it. I think you know quite quickly. I think when you've been doing this for a while, you feel whether it will work. If you spend time on the internet, if you spend time on things like Reddit, and you spend time on social, and you read the press and the blogs in your industry, you will know. You will know whether it should work. And that campaign should have worked. But often things just don't work, and then it's equally important to not spend tons and tons of time. But I think maybe one of the things that we started doing was having a checklist of everything, all of the elements that can really push a campaign. If we've gone through that checklist and it's still not working, then we know to stop and, make sure we're not wasting our time. Because you can do that too. Sometimes we just, keep going.
Because the pillow idea could have been a flop.
It could have been. No, I love the pillow idea.
I love the pillow idea, but I can't see where you'd place it, and that's brilliant.
Yeah, the pillow idea I thought would work simply because the internet is saturated with quite a lot of serious things, and journalists get so many press releases that if, when a journalist opens it, you can make them smile or laugh, then you're much more likely to get it. Because they're humans, you know? Journalists are humans, and they will cover it if it's made them laugh and made them smile.